in conversation with poet Justin Wilson, a seasoned poet and writer with over 2 decades of experience. Justin Wilson has crafted two compelling books. Beyond the Literary World embraces the role of a dedicated father to three girls, channel his passions into fitness, and advocate for mental health. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure and joy to have on the show today, Justin Wilson. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm okay yourself, Mr. Peter.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. I'm excited.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So, Justin, I want to first say that congratulations on your upcoming title, Courageous Vulnerability. For the sake of the to be readers, could you tell us what this book is all about?
The book is about experiences that I've had um throughout life, and not necessarily things that I experienced myself, but just my interpretation of different experiences.
Mm,
Um, the hope in anyone that reads it is that they, can walk away from it encouraged to go for better in life. I don't necessarily think I would call it a self-help book.
mm,
As I would, I'm just trying to encourage people. I'm trying to take experiences that I've had um that took a toll on my life, and through uh the power of God for me, Jesus Christ for me,
mm.
and mental getting the mental help that I need. I feel like I'm better and getting better. So
Wow.
that's what the book is about, for the most part. And hopefully it's entertaining. Um, but yeah, that's what when I think about the book, that's my hope, is that somebody walks away with a I can keep going
Wow.
mindset.
Wow, that's quite amazing. I love the inspiration feature that it contains. Sounds very impressive to me because this is what we really need in our current world, considering the discouragement and the unhopefulness and building, cycling everywhere. So, Justin, I also see that you have another book titled From the Pews. For readers who haven't read the book yet, and of course, without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we'd expect picking up from the pews?
So From the Pews is a book that I published the book. I want to say in 2020, but a lot of the literature in it, the first poem I ever wrote is the first poem in the book, and I was 14 years old when I wrote it.
Wow.
Um, I wasn't even I didn't even know I was writing a poem at the time. I just started writing what I was feeling at that time, and my mother read it, and she was like, "I didn't know you write poetry," and I was like, "Me either," but okay. Um,
Wow.
it's funny. I was raised in the church. But the first poetry book that I ever read was Tupac's Concrete in the Rose in the Concrete. And that's
Oh,
kind of what inspired me to do what I was doing. But like I said, I just started doing it, and then I found therapy for
mm,
life in writing. So I would just start writing, and I put stuff to the side. And then, I
mm,
let people hear it over the years, and it's like, man, you should do a book, you should do a book, you should do a book. And
mm,
2020 was kind of like the beginning of the pandemic, and I was sitting in the house by myself with nothing to do. So I'm like, okay, let me see how this works. And I kind of just tried it and put it together, and it was a fun experience. It was a scary experience. It was
mm.
a emotional experience. But yeah, that's how that book came about. Like I said, I was raised in the church, and a lot of stuff in there is related to church questions that I asked myself, and
Wow.
things that other people found value in. So that's what the first book is about.
Wow, that's quite amazing to know, really. I'm excited to hear about that. That it contains some of your questions that you have while racing or coming up in church. Now, I'd love you to show the book to the camera just so we can see what it looks like.
It's from the
From
pews.
the pews. Beautiful cover it is. Yeah. About
Yes,
the
sir.
second one,
The
courageous
second one is
vulnerability.
vulnerability.
Yeah. Poems in
I
short
want to say
stories.
about the first book though, right? The first, this is actually the back of the book where the title and everything is. The front of the
Oh.
book just has clues in it. And the way my thinking when I did that, trying to be slick, I guess, was, the pews sit in front of where the speakers are. And so this message is going out, it's going towards the speakers from
Oh.
the perspectives of the pew. So rather than put the title of the book in the front of the book, I put it in the back of the
At the
book. So if
back.
anybody decide to get it, it's that's exactly how it's supposed to be.
Oh wow, wow, that's quite uncommon, and it's and outstanding because it's always fun to do something in a different manner, not following what the
Yes,
crowd is doing, try to do something in an
yes,
exceptional manner. So yeah, that's
yes,
quite
sir.
amazing to know. I love the sound of it.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
Justin, as a poet and storyteller, first of all, I would love to ask you, how did you come with writing poetry? What was the last thing you remember, or what was the first time you started writing poetry? And also, in your own word, how would you define poetry? What does poetry means to you?
So I started writing poetry. Like I said, when I was 14 years old, I had read Tupac's Rose in the Concrete. I can't forget the title exactly, but I read that book and I found it very interesting because when you think of Tupac, you don't think of poetry, you think of all of the stuff that
Yeah.
was being viewed on TV at that time. Um, and I found it interesting, so I kind of just started jotting stuff down, um, and it became a place that I can hide in plain sight. Like I could express my feelings without worried about being criticized and judged. I
Mm.
could use poetry to do that. And then with poetry, you can code it in the language. You can
Mm.
use the language to say things but not say things. And so um, for me, it was a way to address what I didn't even understand at the time as childhood trauma. Um,
Mm.
it was a way to hide in plain sight. It was a getaway. I could go anywhere in poetry. I could be who I wanted to be. My thoughts didn't necessarily get challenged, and at that time, I wasn't in a place where I could handle the criticism. I'm super open to criticism now, but at the time,
Wow.
I wasn't in a place where I could. And as far as what poetry is to me, it's a way to express yourself in a way without all of the restrictions. Um, without restrictions, you can kind of do and say and be. You can be really, really honest in a coded way
Yeah.
because, like, I'm just getting to the place where I can, where I realize that being vulnerable is a strength. I was not necessarily raised to believe that vulnerability is a strength.
Mm.
But I believe that I think that men in particular hold a lot of things in and it torments and it gets to us. And I think we should be allowed to not have to hold that stuff in. Of course, you don't say everything you feel. There is a place for stoicism, but holding things in. I know for me, it a lot of life was harder than I think it needed to be because I didn't feel safe in just kind of expressing myself. And poetry allowed me to do that. And then
Wow.
when I got to the place where people started reading the poetry and was like, man, this is amazing. For me, I'm just hiding in the poetry. I'm trying to say it in a cool way, but
Yeah.
people were impressed with it. So I was like, okay, well, that works.
Wow, that's quite amazing to know, really. And I love the fact that you mentioned that poetry to you sounds That's a way of expressing oneself, expressing one's art. Well, to me, I've always loved to consider poetry as a language of the soul, the language of the soul of the poet, the language of
Mm,
the soul of the writer, because it's something that comes in from within, from the heart, from deep down inside of you. You're pouring out your art in papers, writing down those words in an amazing and captivating, pulling way. Yeah, so I love the fact that you mentioned that it's an expressive way, but then I love to consider it too as a language of the soul of the writer, the language of the soul of the poet, because we feel, and this language can also it can always differ from time to time, from face to face, from team to team, depending on the situation of the poet's art at that time. If the poet is feeling, attraction about love, if the poet is passing through, grief or pain, and the poet is passing through expression and happiness. So it's the language of the soul of the author,
mm.
of the poet, stuff like that. So yeah, I love to
I like
contribute
your
to
definition
that.
better than mine. I like your definition. I think I'm gonna have to quote you on that moving forward. If I'm ever asked again, I'll say, per Peter, it's the language of the soul.
It looks amazing, really. Yeah, it's my definition that I've heard for so many. Why? Because when people ask me, what do you think of poetry? I say it's the language of the soul of the writer, of the poet. So
Definitely.
yeah, I love to put it that way.
It's like your print is very specific to the person writing it. So I definitely
Absolutely.
agree with
Yeah. Now,
that.
Justin, I'm also curious to know if you experienced any challenges while writing your books. If there is any, could you share with us what challenge it is and how you ultimately overcame it? Also, how do you handle criticism as a writer, especially the negative ones?
Um, I think my challenges is a lot of times has been when I first the way poetry happens for and to me,
Mm,
like I'll have a thought stuck in my head,
yeah,
but it won't necessarily pour out. Like it'll just be a thought. And then out of nowhere, the words will start coming. And I have to, like, whatever I'm doing, I have to stop and I have to just type it down. And
absolutely.
when you do it that way and it's coming from the heart and it's raw and uncensored, having to go back and read it and say, okay, I don't think I want anybody to know this. So I'm gonna take that out and
Mm,
or I'll reword it like this so it's not so clear what's going on.
mm,
Um and so that's my process. That's the difficult part for me is wanting to maintain what my heart poured out on the paper,
mm,
but also not being so vulnerable. Um, the new book, I kind of just whatever my heart put out, that's what I did.
mm,
I didn't take anything out. I may have reworded it in such a way where it's still some level of mystery to what's being talked about or what's being said.
yeah.
But whatever I said. Hence the name, courageous vulnerability. Um, as far as criticism, I'm in a place now and have been in for at least like the past maybe 5 years. I look for the criticism because I feel like it makes me better. So
Yeah.
um I'm actually more interested in hearing the criticism than I am the praise.
Wow.
Um it's hard to hear criticism, but I'm definitely I want to get better at what I do. And so I look for the criticism. I'm not running from it. I'm happy. I'm not mad about it. We can grab a cup of coffee after you're done telling me how terrible my writing was.
That's so funny. Well, that's quite amazing. I love your response to these questions, really. It sounds very interesting to me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, Justin, apart from Courageous Vulnerability and from the Pews, do you have any other works you've authored or maybe currently working on?
Um, I have some pieces that I have not that didn't go into courageous vulnerability. Um, that I am as a poet, you probably have experienced where you write something down
Mm,
and maybe the process how it pours out kind of just stops, and you're like, I feel like there's more to this. So I'm gonna table it for right now. I'll keep it here for right now, and then I'll read it
Later.
later, and then if it starts to pour again, then I'll finish it. So
Yeah.
I have a number of pieces like that. If I can form them into something more, then I'll definitely do that. I would like to produce another book. But as far as like, do I have something sitting around somewhere? No, I probably have enough content for another book right now.
Wow.
But it's just not in a place where I'm comfortable with it to put it out.
Wow. That's quite lovely to know. That's quite amazing to know, and to know that you've got some other works ongoing. So that's quite great.
Yes.
Now, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Are there any challenges you've encountered ever since you got published?
Um, you said, are there any what now?
I should repeat the question
I
again,
didn't.
right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
please.
asking, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Also, are there any challenges you've encountered ever since you got published?
Um, I publishing was interesting for me. I have a good friend of mine who stays on my head about the publishing, even courageous vulnerability. Um, I had the content
Mm,
together and ready to go for maybe a year, and then my friend read the stuff. It was like, so what's going on? Because like I do the writing thing, all of the other stuff. I'm
yeah,
it Yeah. So he stayed on my head about it vigorously and consistently. And then computers is that's his thing. So he pretty much went to Amazon, found out about the KDP initially
mm,
when it came, because this is the same person that got me to do from the pews. And pretty much we read it, we uploaded it, and we told everybody, hey, we have a book available. And like I say, over because I've been writing for so long, there's been a lot of people who've read um, my stuff, and so a lot of the people who read it, it wasn't new stuff for them. It was just like, oh, I'm happy you put a book out there, let me buy it.
mm,
Um, well, courageous vulnerability is different in that there are people who've read a good majority of the book, but for the most part, it's you have access to more of what's in the book than 99% of the people.
wow, wow. That's,
As far as the challenges, I guess because I've had, you know, encouragement from, friends who appreciate the work. Um, they help me go through the process. They help me stay focused on what happens after I've done the part that I do. Um,
wow.
and your platform has been great, having this interview, because I'm man, I'm telling you, I am not like this is difficult for me, but I'm happy to be doing it.
Yeah, that's quite amazing to know, really. That's quite lovely to
Mm.
know. Now, Justin, is there anything that you would love to share with the viewers about your books that we did not mention in this interview and you'd love the viewers to know? Also, as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book? What would you advise people in this category?
Um, if it's okay, I'll answer the second question first.
Absolutely.
Um, Advice for authors who are having difficulties publishing a book. The Amazon KDP for me
Yeah,
is a very easy way to get the stuff on the internet and set yourself up to be able to allow people to purchase and enjoy
yeah,
your work. I am a fan, reader, observer of Jordan Peterson,
Wow.
and he, uh, he put a quote out. I want to, if I'm not quoting him correctly, please forgive me. But he was like, he said something to the effect of the way to deal with your fear is to face it. Um,
Yeah.
and so when it comes to it, go read the instructions on Amazon KDP, upload your PDFs, and your art for your book covers,
Yeah.
and either schedule the date that it will go live or push live then. Don't think about it, just do it.
Let's
Um,
do it.
if it's obviously you want to make sure you get as much editing as you can. I have a younger sister, she's probably 10 years younger than me,
Oh.
who published a book. And she just did it. Like she was just like, Jay, just do it. So don't if you're an overthinker like me, you will think yourself out of doing it.
Mm.
But if you have people that if you could take any advice from me, do as much editing as you can,
Yeah.
try to make it close to perfect as you can. But just do it. Just
Yeah.
do it and let it be what it's going to be. The people who are going to criticize you are going to criticize you. And
Absolutely.
the criticism is what you make it. If somebody's saying things just to be mean, that's fine. And if somebody's genuinely trying to help you, they could make you a better
Mm.
writer. And beautiful thing about Amazon is if you can take their advice, go make the edits and re-upload it, and you'll be just fine. So that would be my advice on that. I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
Yeah. Is there anything that you love the viewers to know about your book that
Oh,
we did
the
not
book.
mention in this interview?
I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but like I said, the biggest thing for me is that um I wrote the book as a man. So when you hear me talk about how men should be more vulnerable, that's because I'm a man and I wrote the book. But
Yeah.
I would hope that everybody could read the book and understand that you have to be responsible. I'm not saying be loosely vulnerable and just tell
Mm.
everybody everything. What I am saying is I can speak for me that I was raised in an environment that didn't necessarily push the necessity for mental health, seeing a therapist, seeing counselors.
Mm.
Um, and that environment has changed and my parents they push that stuff very heavy now. Uh, the book is not a diagnosis. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a mental health professional.
Mm.
I started watching Jordan Peterson and I got so much from what he put out, and I started paying attention to mental health and how it affects things in every facet of life.
Mm.
My younger sister, my baby sister, I'm proud of her. She became a therapist, and
Wow.
so we were able to have conversations. And I respect the craft. In another life, I would be in school to be a part of that community, but
Mm.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a therapist. But I recommend counseling and therapy for anybody that is experiencing traumas and the issues associated with life. And that's what this book is. I'm being vulnerable and saying, hey, these are things that I've experienced, these are things that I've went through prayer, faith in Jesus Christ, and therapy. um I can say, and I said I wasn't even going to say this, but I haven't had a suicidal thought
Wow.
in probably 3 years. And I attribute that to getting an understanding of what mental health is, removing the stigma of it from myself, um, and just believing in Jesus. I haven't experienced a suicidal thought in like I said, 3 years, and I'm happy about that. I pray
Wow.
that I continue in that path, but my that if you get nothing else from the book, please take that away. Whatever you are dealing with, whatever you're going through, you can make it through it. You can make it through it. There are people in place that will help you. It's not as expensive as people think it is. There are places that will help you for free. Um,
Mm,
but that is the overall message of the book. Is let's go be vulnerable. Don't hold all of the trauma and the pain in, and keep living. Keep living. You I don't know who, yeah, I don't know who's gonna watch this, but whoever you are, I am talking to you when I say you have something to offer the world. You have
wow.
value. You are such an important person that Jesus Christ died on the cross for you. I
Wow.
wholeheartedly believe that. So,
Wow.
um, that's the overall message of the book. I would say like that's what comes from my heart about the book.
Wow, that's quite amazing, really. And I love the themes, the features that your book contains. Sounds very amazing to me. The motivation, the faith, and so many things you mentioned in the book. Now, Justin, I would love you to maybe recite one or two poems from your book. If you would like to read a particular poem, a particular page, from maybe either of the two or one prompt from one book, another one from another book, whichever way you would love to make it be. Yeah, love to have an
Okay.
idea of your work.
So I'll say this before I start reading. I
Okay.
write a lot better than I read. I'm a nervous out loud reader. So from courageous vulnerability. But like I said, I talk about the trauma and stuff, but this is not a trauma related poem, I guess. It's
Okay.
a poem that I was, I guess I would say I was dealing with, I was courting someone. And this is just a thought, it's a short piece. But like all of the pieces in the book, it has questions
Mm,
associated with it.
yeah.
But it says the title of it is I Wish, and it says, I wish you could miss me some of the way I miss you.
Mm,
Perhaps then you'd understand. Understand these feelings that I can't even put into words. The thoughts are inaudible, scattered and blurred. They're happy and sad, clear and cloudy, healing and hurtful simultaneously. I don't even know that any of that makes sense. I just know I
mm,
wish that my love for you could be impactful, persuasive, penetrating, influencing, fulfilling. I wish I could help you believe me, believe in me, see me. I wish I could show you my heart so you could see what I feel for you, my love for you, my heart for you. I wish you could miss me, you could love me, could long for me, could desire me, that I could be in your mind
mm.
just long enough for you to understand the love I have for you. I wish you knew I love you. Um, you want me to read the questions too, or just the poem is good
Yeah,
enough?
you can go ahead.
The question. Okay,
Yeah.
so it says after that it says let's talk about it, which is that's at the end of every poem. And it says, have you ever experienced the question number one is have you ever experienced a longing for someone that was so intense it felt challenging to put into words, much
Wow.
like the emotions described in this piece? Question
Mm,
number two, how do you think unspoken emotions impact the dynamics of a relationship, especially when one person wishes for their love to be understood without explicit communication.
Wow.
Question number three is, in your opinion, can the intensity of emotions expressed in this piece lead to a deeper connection between individuals, or does it risk creating unmet expectations? Number four is, what
Super.
role do you think self-disclosure display self-disclosure plays in fostering understanding and connection in relationships, as highlighted by the narrator? The narrator's desire to show their heart in the piece. And question number five is, how might the theme of unrequited love as portrayed in the piece influence one's perception of their own emotions in the pursuit of a genuine connection with others? So
Wow.
that's number uh that's the poem I wish. I let me if I can't find something that's like short. A matter of fact, from the pews, another one of the shorter pieces.
Yeah, while you're
Um,
searching for that, I want to say that I particularly love the poem you just finished reading. It sounds very amazing to me. And your questions are very deep, very profound. Yeah, and I like the fact that it goes alongside with the poetry. I've read books like that. When you read a poem, they leave questions underneath. It's a very nice approach to poetry. So that's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, you can go ahead
thank you, sir.
now.
This one is from the pews. This one didn't have, I didn't put the questions in front of pews. The questions was after I had read and kind of seen that format myself, and I was like, you know what? Let me try this as well, because I wanted to be able to make a deeper connection.
Yeah.
But if I'll give like a story before the story, um, actually, if it ever comes up, I'll answer a question. But yeah, the question, the title of this is Fun. Um, and it says, "Hello, my name is Fun. Remember me? I'm here as a result of yours and my mother's actions. But after you finished having me with my mom, you didn't want me anymore. Why? What did I do? Did I
Uh,
stop being fun? I mean, I didn't make you have me fun. Um, and she didn't have me fun on her own. But after you finish having me fun, it's in parentheses, so I'm reading it like that. You started treating me like I wasn't fun anymore. Is that what it is? Hello, my name is Fun. Remember me? You and my dad got together and had me. And then a short time later, you and he had me assassinated.
uh,
What did I do wrong? I thought you two enjoyed yourselves having me. But then there were some noises and some burning feelings and some cold tools. Someone was cutting me off. Did I do something wrong? Is that what it was? Sexual responsibility is a must. You may be having fun, but somebody's life is on the line. There's a reason our creator instructed us to marry and be unified indefinitely. Your fun can
uh.
cost someone their life. So
Oh,
if you
that's
listen, you know exactly what that's about.
yeah, that was amazing, really, Justin. Thank you so much for reciting. That was quite
Yes, sir.
wholesome. And now, Justin, in case we have some interested viewers who are currently watching this interview, I would love to get a copy of any of your books or both of your books. On what platform are they available on for purchase?
Exclusively on Amazon. You could look them up. From the Pews by Justin Wilson is how it pulls up on Amazon. Like I said, it's been there for 3 years. Um,
Wow,
and on the 20th of January, um, Courageous Vulnerability will be available on Amazon.
wow.
Uh, and that's how they can find them. They can I'll share the links on my um social media platforms, author Justin Wilson or just Justin Wilson. That's pretty much the way anybody can reach me. Or could, I guess, follow me on social media.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's the only way that I have at the moment to share the book. Like I say, I consider myself a small author at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested
Mm.
viewers can get a copy of Justin's books directly on Amazon. So thank you so much, Justin, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
Yes, sir. It's been a pleasure. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
It's my pleasure as well.